Hi friends. Today I wanted to talk about my thoughts regarding being introduced to people as the son of an owner of a company. Um, as a little background, my personal feelings behind it, I definitely dislike it and feel very uncomfortable being known as the owner's son. And I think there's two main reasons for why I feel this way. One is just past experience in regards to how I noticed how people changed in the way they communicate or behave around me upon knowing this information. Um, and in the past, I definitely, remember enjoying it when I was really young. But then over time, I realized that I disliked it because people I couldn't tell sometimes if people liked me for who I was or because of that extra information that they learned. And I don't even know if it was that they liked me, but the way they treated me, I felt, yeah, I just couldn't figure anything out, and so I disliked it, and I learned that really early on, really fast. So I changed, uh, ever revealing. Um, and I know I'm sometimes overthinking things, and there are people who don't care about that at all, and that's great. But I've also sometimes met people who don't realize that they slightly change their behavior upon knowing this information. And so, in general, I just don't feel a need to ever reveal it. They just need to get to know me and like me for my personality and values, and that's it. That's all good for me. I guess you could argue that my personality and values, a lot of it is thanks to this extra information, but that's a different story. It's not like I hide this information to my good friends or anything, but it's not like I feel the need to bring it up either. So I may have friends who don't know this, and that's totally fine and cool. Uh, anyways, the second reason for why I dislike it, I think, is probably because of kind of the culture I grew up around. I feel back in the US where there is a lot of negative connotation behind being rich and wealthy and privileged, I felt. And it definitely made me feel guilty for this privilege that I got handed based off of pure luck being born into this family. And, it's kind of like winning the lottery ticket. And it's not like I was born into this uh, from merit or anything. It's literally chance for me. So definitely lots of guilt, I think, even now. And I think those are kind of the two reasons why I dislike being known as an owner's son. Anyways, that's kind of my background uh, on my feelings. It could change in the next 5, 10 years. I don't know. I guess you could say it's evolved a little, but back to the main story. When I first joined the company, I was definitely being introduced internally to all the different departments where I've had the chance to go to, introduce myself as being the owner's son. And it felt weird, definitely weird, but what can I do? I am there's a plan for me to potentially become the owner of the company, and people know my father, and it was announced internally that I would be joining. So it's not like something I could hide, And there's also this culture of hierarchy and uh, respect toward the owner, I guess. So people want to know. Maybe I'm overassuming things, but I think there are people who would like to know that who I am so that they could properly introduce themselves to me. Uh, that sounds really weird saying that. I feel really weird, pompous. Anyways, so that happened, and I didn't know how to approach it. I just joined the company, and I felt really awkward anyway. So I just kind of went with the flow, being introduced as owner's son. But then this past month and a half, month, including today, I've had the opportunity to meet vendors who are part of our supply chain, uh, where I was also introduced as being the owner's son. And it got me thinking, like, to what extent is this introduction necessary? Because on one hand, I really feel like there might not be a need. Ideally, these vendors would treat me the same way they would treat anyone else. And I feel that I should learn the ropes of how to do the work just like anyone else would, just so I could understand what it means to kind of work on the front line more, within the company as a regular employee more. But at the same time, I guess I trying to think on the other side. The vendor themselves, they may kind of feel a little annoyed if they learn later on that I was owner's son. They may get not just annoyed at me, but also the person who was introducing me. They might get to them and be like, "Why didn't you tell us?" kind of thing. I don't know. Maybe I'm assuming too many things right now, but and also because of kind of the culture that and the culture of the industry that I am in is very old, and it's really relationship oriented over long periods of time. These uh, people have connections with my family, and so they would like to know that so that they could properly introduce themselves to me and how they've been connected to my family. I don't know. Maybe you could argue that that's just unnecessary. That's the past, and that I should be kind of establishing new relationship based off of me and only me and my merits, rather than my family's connection and relation to them. But yeah, I'm just trying to get these opinions of both sides. Well, one thing that after being introduced today, I was kind of talking with an individual who was the one introducing me to this company to get his opinion on it, what he thinks, and he he mentioned that he wasn't really thinking about it. It just kind of came out, but I guess part of it is that he does feel it may be necessary because some of the vendors, especially the one we were working with today, apparently we've been working with them for like 50 years, a very ridiculously long time. Lots of relationships, including with my father and whatnot. And so these are really long term relationship companies. So I, I guess I could understand that. And the other companies in the past too that I got introduced to, it's a lot of it's relationship based over decades, literally decades. It's kind of crazy. I didn't realize, but so just meeting the owner of other companies and not letting them know would be weird and rude, I guess. And also, this individual mentioned that part of the objective of me going, of course, was training too, but was to kind of begin establishing the network. So, based off of the purpose, of course, I should be introduced as the owner, kind of thing. So, hearing those reasons, I was able to kind of agree with that kind of facet of looking at it. And then I actually had an opportunity to ask one of the vendors who was helping us today, and this individual's opinion really kind of reverberated. And this was something that I could actually really agree with, and is, I think, what kind of changed my stance on being introduced. But this individual mentioned that if anything, I should look at being introduced as the owner, the owner, son of the owner of a company, as a tool. If I really have aspirations to take over the company and do good things with it, I guess I should use all the tools available to me and utilize it to garner as much advantage or extra leverage as necessary to make sure that I succeed. And if I'm committed to it, why shouldn't I use it, kind of thing? If anything, if I'm committed to trying to make the company better and I'm not using all the tools available to me, that's not being committed, I guess. And of course, I could see arguments against this to some extent. One of that being that, yes, if I do try to utilize all the tools too much, I may never do anything based off pure merit or pure actual like hard work, maybe. And just I yeah, I feel like it would feel really fraudulent to some extent, just leveraging all of my privilege to succeed even further. But I guess I could agree with this individual that, assuming I had plans to make the company better, that I might as well see it as a tool and utilize it, else I won't be fulfilling my obligation towards my goal. So, and I feel that as long as my goal itself is objectively good, I feel that it is okay, or at least I could feel comfortable agreeing to that statement. So that was something that really kind of made me feel a little better about being introduced like that. And then I think another thing that as a follow-up, I was thinking about was that it's also a way to kind of make a commitment and hold myself responsible by vocalizing my my reality or my commitment to becoming the owner. I can't just. It's not that I don't think I'm trying to hide or run away. I hope not. Maybe I'm not being honest with myself, but I feel that I'm not trying to hide from this fact. I just genuinely didn't like being introduced as owner's son. But by forcing myself to vocally say this, or being introduced like that, I think it's kind of also reinforcing myself to this commitment of my future obligations. So I have nowhere to run, and I need to commit. So I think in that sense, it might be okay to be introduced as owner son. And so those were kind of the conversations I got to have today, which made me rethink about this topic in general, and my stance behind it. My feelings definitely haven't changed. I definitely dislike it, and I definitely feel guilty and uncomfortable. But I found, I think, a reason for it to be okay to occur. Of course, I think it's a balance. Um, I don't plan on being introducing myself to people in general ever as owner son, but and I won't. Hopefully, people won't always introduce me to people when it's unnecessary, because sometimes there are situations where it's just like there's no need for this extra information to be stated. But in cases where there's a business need or business potential opportunity, I think I won't feel as weird if someone introduces me in that way. Anyways, that's kind of what I was thinking about today. Thanks for listening as always, and I'll catch you guys up again with more thoughts. Cheers.